for the Space King! I'm just kidding. Welcome back to Concealing Historica Imperialis' 40k lore series. Today we will be discussing the Age of Rebirth. This time follows the Horus Heresy and covers the Great Scouring, creation of the Codex Astartes, the First Black Crusade, War of the Beasts, and the Beheading. Before we get into all this, though, hey, if you like what we do, maybe consider supporting us on Patreon. For only $5 a month, you gain access to our episodes 2 days early, get to view our bonus content, and have a chance to vote on what topics we cover next in our 40k lore videos. Hey, we also have a free Discord server for our community and anyone who enjoys Warhammer 40k and other things besides. Links for both in the description below. Thanks again for listening and supporting us. It means a lot. Now, onto the lore. Chef, first of all, how you doing, man? Yeah, no, it's been an X amount of time since last we spoke to each other. And it feels like it's been a X amount of time since we spoke to each other at length. So, anything new?
Um, no, nothing real new. Just same old work,
Yeah,
video games.
yeah.
I had a couple minis.
Oh, what kind of minis?
Currently painting the ones for Bloodborne, the board game.
Fantastic. Love to see it. Love to hear it. Make sure you get on Discord and you show the whole world. I'm sure they'll love that because you can.
I do post them on my TikTok.
Yeah. Well, hey, you want to plug it real quick?
My TikTok is let want to follow it. It's just at Tekonis.
Oh, there you have
You
it.
should be able to find it just as easy. It's very random. It has like painting and miniatures of Power Rangers, the Bloodborne pictures, and then cooking videos. Because chef.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the name, guys. We've talked about this before. He is, in fact, he is, in fact, the man. So, you remember anything from last time? You want to try at it, or do you want me to just go ahead and just, give you a bullet?
Let's just I'll have you just jump into it because it's been a minute, and then, like, once I start hearing it, everything will refresh, but
Yeah, that's fair. I was thinking about like doing different things because, like, I think wasting 3 minutes
I
of
do
you
remember
rattling off a bunch of stuff is going to do you no good.
yeah, I like, one thing I do remember is, like, "Daddy doesn't love me."
I mean,
Of
yeah,
course.
he's so sad and bald, like me. um, yeah. So where we last left off, Horus Lupercal, War Master of Chaos and archenemy of mankind, was slain by the Emperor. Succumbing to his wounds, the Emperor was entered into the Golden Throne in an effort to preserve his life by Constantine Valdor and Rogaldorn of the Imperial Fists. The death of the War Master sent shockwaves throughout the traitor forces, causing a full retreat from the Sol system, with all legions scattering as there did not exist a strong hand to guide them. Left reeling at the loss of the Emperor's guidance following the siege, Rabute Gilliman of the Ultramarines arrived on Terra to relieve the beleaguered Loyalist forces. Now, if you recall from the last episode, it was briefly mentioned that Rabute Gilliman's legion was largest, despite the efforts of both the World Eaters and the Word Bearers' Shadow Crusade to whittle him down. With such substantial numbers at his disposal, this put our beloved Boy Scout, King Blueberry himself, in a position of unchecked authority. A fact he capitalized on by encouraging a series of political moves to restrict the power any one man could hold in the Imperium. This was seen mostly in the splitting of the legions into smaller chapters by the Codex Astartes, and the Imperial army getting divided into the newly formed Imperial Guard and Imperial Navy.
Mm.
Now, it should be noted there was opposition to the Codex Astartes, mainly by Rogel Dorn of the Imperial Fists. According to Dorn, the breaking of the legions was seen as a tactical error and was just further proof of Rabute's power-mongering. Leman Russ of the Space Wolves was quick to follow Dorn in this opposition, but Jagged Icon of the White Scars and Corvus Corax of the Raven Guard saw the merit in the division. All this enmity didn't help ease the tension formed over the heresy, and many started to believe another civil war was on the horizon, even as Imperial forces fought actual renegades in the Imperium at the time. Ultimately, The Codex Crisis was put aside in favor of propagating the war to finish off the traitors and push them back into the Eye of Terror. Now, the counteroffensive wasn't just against traitor forces, though, as Xenos, previously pushed out of the Imperium, resurfaced and began raiding and conquering severely weakened Imperial and traitor forces alike. As the Civil War raged on, many of the Primarchs got up to different things. We will start off the list of notable events with Lionel Johnson of the Dark Angels going on a galactic road trip to visit his traitor brothers' homeworlds and destroy them. These worlds include Barbarous, which is Mortarian's homeworld, Chemos, which is Fulgrim's, Cathonia, which was Horus's, and Colchis, which was Lorgar's.
I mean, I'll be able to find you, but I won't destroy you.
That is exactly how he was thinking about the situation. Like, he was like, I wasn't there for the siege, but by the father, the emperor, I am going to torch all of these traitorous brothers' homeworlds to cinders. And he did. To note, for some of these worlds, an exterminatus was performed.
I was about to say, well, it's like, was it just like an exterminatus or they just like land in?
It was a little bit of different. It always ended in a barren wasteland of a planet.
Mm.
So he may have not cracked the world with like a cyclonic torpedo or virus bombed it per se, but he sent his dark angels in and killed everything. He did not spare the populations either. That's going to be the next question. I'm going to go ahead and get ahead of you and answer it right now. Lionel Johnson is a bastard, but he's our bastard because he's a loyalist. Or is he? Once again, however, by doing this multiple acts of exterminatus, it proves the Dark Angels go hard and know how to hold a grudge. Now, following this retaliation operation, say that 6 times fast, the Lion returned to his homeworld of Caliban upon hearing of an insurrection led by his stepfather, Luther. Now, this is a guy that found him when he was a baby Primarch and raised him from tothood. Though, as the legends go, the Lion was in the forest for like a really long time by himself before Luther and his knights found him. I digress.
So the emperor just made him and then dumped him in a forest.
Well, you do remember what happened with the scattering? How like all their pods were jettisoned to the 4 corners of the galaxy?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah. It's okay, guys. He's new and I'm a professional. We're moving on.
right.
There's a whole story built up about this moment in particular of, the war on Caliban, but we will cover this in the Lions episode. Perhaps the Dark Angels. I don't know. We'll get to them eventually. Suffice to say, the resulting event ended in Caliban being destroyed and Lionel Johnson being put into a magical sleep and sequestered by the Watchers in the Dark after receiving a grievous injury from Luther. Don't ask. I'm kidding. Go ahead and ask. Like, Watchers in the Dark? What the hell is that? I honestly do not know. I genuinely do not know who or what the Watchers in the Dark is. They're these like little guys wearing like red robes, like, what are those Jawas? Jawas?
Yeah,
Like that, but little magical guys.
they're just there.
Yeah, they just show up out of like the corner of your eye, rather fey-like, and they're known for spouting like harsh critiques and wisdom. And for whatever reason, the Dark Angels are like, "Sup, little man? I'm going to ride or die for you."
They just love these little guys.
I don't say they love them, but they work alongside them. And like the going theory is there's some sort of Xenos, or maybe they're warp entities that are friendly to the Dark Angels, or maybe they're a mixture of both or
But they
nothing at
just
all.
do they only reveal themselves in the dark?
You never see what they look like. They've been around since Caliban was a mythical land of forest monsters and critters of malign means. In other words, they were chaos spawn. Like Caliban was full up of like magical beasts, specifically like warp tainted beast. And the Knights of Caliban and other orders therein, their whole like MO was like questing across the land like the Knights of yore and slaying these beasts. And the lion came and then killed all the beasts.
Oh, So they sound like they'd be a cool faction.
They are a cool faction, and we will touch upon them whenever we go into our faction deep dives. But for now, let's move away from that. The destruction of Caliban saw the remaining followers of Luther, now named the Fallen by those still loyal to the Lion, go into hiding with the knowledge of their betrayal being buried by the remaining Dark Angels. So much so that no one in the Imperium knows the Dark Angels' treachery, even in current 40k.
Hmm.
And just so you're aware, after Rabute Gilliman came back, after like a nondescript period of time, the Lion woke up from his magical slumber in like a weird forest, and then Forrest walked out of said forest, and then found out that he was in the 42nd millennium. He is alive. That makes Primarch number 2 of the Loyalist faction that's currently kicking it around in the current timeline.
Okay, so we got Gilliman.
And he's old.
He's old.
So unlike Rabute Gilliman of the Ultramarines, who was put in stasis and therefore was kept youthful, and he wasn't a day past a couple centuries old, the Lion, when he entered that weird magical sleep that the Watchers induced him in, when he woke up, he was an old man, but didn't know he was until like this famous bout he had in Son of the Lion, which is the novel that debuts him waking up in the lore. And he was like fighting one of his fallen sons, and it's like, I don't understand. I should have taken you out long ago. And he's like, don't you know, father? You're old. There isn't some magical curse on you. You got old, buddy. You slow down when you get old. Because like his body did in fact age for over 10,000 years.
Oh, I'd
It's
do it.
He'll do it, but like because of the design work of like the Emperor, he's effectively immortal as far as anybody can tell. As are any of his sons outside of Vulcan, who, as we have established
So
in
they still age, but they're immortal.
the aging process is slow. The same as can be said for the Custodian Guard, like the Adaptus Custodia, as they are now known as. They don't age, such as the perfection of the craft of the Emperor's gene splicing. Um, so as the Lion falls, we turn our attention to Rogel Dorn and his Imperial fists. Like Rabute, Rogel was very busy during the Scouring. He was tireless in his mission to bring all his brothers to justice. The one he really wanted to stick it to eluded him, though, i.e., Perturabo of the Iron Warriors. Interesting side tangent I would like to bring to your attention. Perturabo and his Iron Warriors were the real reason the Siege of Terra during the Horus Heresy went so well for the traitor forces. Try to remember, most of the traitor Parmex were either corrupted demons perverted and beyond anything resembling focus, or otherwise uncaring to the outcome of the war. Old Purdy wasn't. He was in it to win it, because he wanted to, stick it to Dorn, because he hated Dorn. There's also a good time to point out there that it was said that while Rogel Dorn was a master of defensive warfare and fortification building, Perturabo was a master of siege engines and siege warfare. So they had like a natural enmity to each other. Like they hated each other. Perturabo also had a bone to pick with Dorn and his Imperial Fist, as they quite frankly hated each other's guts due to during the Great Crusade, there was a lot of back and forth between them, and then Dorn would always, be an absolute Giga Chad and say something offhanded the way that like a Spartan would. He's like, oh, well, he was asked by, I think it was Fulgrim, is like, because Fulgrim likes to stir the pot. He's like, hey, Dorn, this palace you're making, do you think Purdy could take it? And, Dorn said something to the effects of like, I'm not worried about him or anyone else. And apparently that set Purdy off. Absolute incel that he is.
Think I could take your castle, huh?
Basically,
Prove you wrong.
we'll prove you wrong. Yeah, and
I didn't say that. Too bad.
too bad. Eternal war. Throughout the Great Crusade, it could be said Perturabo was the whipping boy of the Emperor. For whatever reason, the Emperor really loved assigning him shit tasks and not giving the poor boy his due when he ultimately succeeded against the most unlikely of odds. As again, another side tangent, The Iron Warriors, i.e. Perturabo, were sent against the Hrud. And the Hrud are a extraplanar xenospecies that has the controlling technology to dilute and manipulate time. So, like when they were fighting the Hrud, all of his Iron Warriors, and like a famous one, Dantioch was his name, actually got aged by like 3,000 years. And that Astartes, by the way, still fought all the way into like the tail end of the Horus Heresy, and he was a loyalist.
Hmm.
But that, sir, is a story for another time. My point is like Purdy is the kind of guy that like he didn't love his father, but he honored him in his way, in the way that his little unfortunate mind could construe. This developed, as you would expect, into resentment for not only his father, but all those who wronged him, or I should say he perceived as wronged him, like that throwaway line I told you about Dorn. Furthermore, while he did the dirty job asked of him, the emperor often favored Dorn with his choice projects over petty cakes himself. Old petty cakes got nothing, mainly because he asked for nothing. And the difference between like Dorn and Perturabo is like night and day in terms of their mentalities. Dorn does his duty because he feels that duty in of itself is its own reward, whereas Perturabo did these things and also thought that duty was its own reward, but secretly he wanted accolades.
Hmm.
So one of these projects that Dorn received from the Emperor that really set off Perturabo was the fortification of the Imperial Palace on Terra, which I'll remind you was in the Himalayas. This was just one more slide in a list of mistakes heaped upon Perturabo, though perhaps it wouldn't surprise you to know that during the heresy, Horus also treated Peter Turbo as his whipping boy, too.
Hmm.
Perhaps this is why.
Tired of
What's
being a
that?
whipping boy, basically.
Yeah, no, exactly. We're going to get to that. Perhaps this is why Pettycakes quit the siege halfway through.
He's like, "No, I'm done."
Recalled all his Iron Warriors and left the Sol system. He left halfway through the siege. He's like, I'm done. I'm not your whipping boy. I wasn't Dad's whipping boy. I'm D-O-N-E, done. Point of me telling you all this exposition is simple. Dorn had it out for Perturabo, and vice versa. They hate each other. So much so that he focused most of his legion in crushing the Iron Warriors wherever he could find them. Destroying the empire Perturabo had carved out for himself during the Horus Heresy. So like he went to the Iron Empire and just like cracked an egg, one planet after the other. Dorn did. It's just kicking ass and taking names and not chewing bubblegum because he's on duty. And chewing bubblegums for winners. So when,
One, yes. I don't get no bubble gum.
that's exact. He has a magical pain glove. Dorn does. I could explain that one to you, but I like the mysticism of leaving you in the mystery of why this guy has a pain glove. Also, what's a pain glove? He has it. Don't worry. He's a special princess. So when he heard that his erstwhile brother was on Sebastus IV constructing something dubbed the Eternal Fortress, Dorn couldn't help himself and ordered his entire legion to invade with the sole objection of bringing Perturabo back to Terra in an iron cage. Rabute Gilliman told Dorn this was a trap, and like any real Chad, Dorn just nodded and said, well, I guess I'm going to go spring that trap and drag this bitch back in fetters to await judgment. It's like, Dorn, everybody. Dorn. While the numbers are not known, what was included was the layout of the Eternal Fortress. Picture this, my dude. The fortress consisted of over 20 square miles of bunkers, towers, minefields, trenches, razor wire, tank traps, redoubts, and a system of complex underground tunnels. The defenses of the fortress were shaped like an eight-pointed star, which you may not know is the mark of chaos undivided.
Mm.
At the center, there was a massive bunker intended to serve as a decoy and was of no value whatsoever. The battle was long and grueling, first starting in space before going to the surface of the planet. Over the course of 3 weeks and 6 days, Perturabo inflicted mass casualties on the Imperial Fist and forced them to a last man standing scenario before Rabute Gilliman arrived with his full legion to relieve his embattled brother. So hey, he got out of shit free card from old Boy Scout himself.
I'm like, all right, I'll help you.
Yeah, it was weird. Left with no choice but to catch and release, Perturabo managed to deny the 400 Battle Brothers gene seed to be recovered before retreating out of the system. So gene seed, as a reminder, is a thing that makes like Astartes. Yeah, so yeah. So it's a valuable resource. Valuable. For this sacrifice of gene seed and the near destruction of the Imperial Fist, Perturabo was granted demonhood and became a demon prince of Chaos Undivided. Jury's still out on that. Please know, fans, that I know he might actually be Veshtor's lapdog. I'm not sure if I believe that. I'm not sure until I'm told otherwise by lore facts. Such as it is, we are moving on. The aftermath of the Battle of the Iron Cage forced Dorn to reevaluate his stance on the Codex Astartes. It is widely believed that his slaughter that just happened was by design, as Dorn before the Cage came to realize that his legion was too stubborn to bend to the will of Rabute and conform to the Codex. So much so that they knew they needed to be hardened by some sort of crucible to convince them that the splitting of the legions was necessary. To be completely honest with you, I have a hard time believing this information is still canon. Despite the fact it is clearly referenced in the second collection in the Index Astartes series, it is worth noting this information was printed in 2003, a whole 3 years before the first novel in the Horus Heresy series would be published. Even back then, the canon of the narrative was in flux.
Yeah.
But either way, in this humble lore master's opinion, I call bullshit to Dorn, planning to kill off a large number of his legion just to prepare them for Codex compliance. That's dumb. Whoever wrote that, that's dumb.
Oh, dumb.
I don't believe it. It's not my canon. And unfortunately, the Index Astartes series is still considered canon. So, yeah, I don't believe it. Following the Iron Cage incident, the Ultramarines and Imperial Fist invaded Olympia, homeworld of Perturabo. You're starting to see a trend here of how this is turning out for old Pertur. Presumably in retaliation of the events of Sebastus IV, i.e. the Iron Cage. The siege took 2 years before being occupied by loyalist forces. Remaining ever petulant, Peter Turbo detonated a stockpile of highly volatile missiles on his homeworld as he was retreating, leaving it a barren wasteland rather than a stronghold to be used by his conquerors. Stay petty, my friends.
They really like to just destroy and like ruin planets.
Petty Turbo is he's
I was like, not just him. This is like just everybody in the universe is like,
oh, it's grimdark.
I
It's
know.
grimdark, chef. Keep up. I got one for you. You're gonna like this one. I handpicked this one just because I know you have a raging boner for Vulcan for some reason. There's also a brief hunt of Fabius Bile of the Emperor's Children by the Salamanders under Vulcan.
Ooh.
During the Siege of Terra, Bile experimented on the Terran citizens and created foul creatures that aided the traitor forces. So enraged by this act of depravity, Vulcan demanded justice in order to manhunt that his legion was all too happy to commit to. The resulting journey ended in the rebelling world of Arden 9, where Bile had created flesh refineries and cloning vats for his foul experiments. Now, a couple words of just wisdom for you. Fabius Bile, he was like the head surgeon apothecarian for the Emperor's Children under Fulgrim. And this dude was the closest person to replicate or get close to replicating the Emperor's Astartes project. But he
Dangerous. I mean,
but to this day, he has not succeeded, and he's still around in the 42nd millennium. Yeah, I know. So, sadly, Bile got away on a hidden spacecraft, but the Salamanders succeeded in destroying all the equipment left behind. Despite this success, it once again reminds us of the old adage, good guys finish last. Vulcan, he can't help but be the only good Primarch in the entire series. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, Vulcan lifts.
say lifts or lives.
That's exactly what I said, yes. He lifts, man. Have you seen his gains?
Do you even lift, bro?
Do you not see those legs? He doesn't skip leg day, and neither should you, dear viewership. During the Battle of Escrador, Rabute Gilliman encountered the remaining twin of the Alpha Legion and killed him in the duel. Now, here's a little faux pas on my part. I forgot to mention this because I did a pretty good job for the most part of telling you if and when Primarchs died during the last episode, but I failed to mention that one of the twin Primarchs of the Alpha Legion got killed by Dorn during the Solar War. So, like,
We just don't know which one.
they are Alpharius, my friend.
Alpharius.
Like, I read that book. I'm fairly certain that it was Alpharius that got killed because after the Solar, if you recall from what I told you, the Alpha Legion was the only legion that left right before the Siege of Terra. They didn't even put boots on the ground. So I genuinely believe that Omegon, the good one, the one that wanted to stay loyalist, actually survived the Solar War and then got his legion out. But now that we're talking about that, he got killed by Rabute Gilliman. Yeah, so they had a duel on Escrador, and Rabute slayed him,
So both twins are dead? Or wait,
allegedly.
allegedly.
I say this because those sources are unsure if this is true or not, as everyone in that blasted legion knows, looks and fights like Alpharius. We can only assume that Rabute succeeded in killing Alpharius. That statement is technically correct. He killed a Alpharius. Did he kill the Alpharius? No. But I do think he killed Omegon. I do. I think both of those Primarchs are dead. We also lose Jagadai Khan during a battle in the Webway against Dark Eldar raiders in the Yasan sector. No body ever recovered, leading to many believing that he survived and is trapped somewhere in the Webway. Like I said, they didn't find anything about Jagatai. So that's the pervading theory. He's somewhere lost in the Webway.
One is Jagatide. What legion would his be?
White Scars.
The White Scars. Okay.
They're the Mongolian themed one. They like to go fast and chop heads off and laugh while fighting.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they're called the Laughing Warriors. That's like, their thing.
Okay. Gotcha.
It's a good day to die, my friend. Bear yourselves, Night Lords. I'm about ready to rock your girdle. In the eastern fringe of the galaxy, we get to see the successful assassination of Conrad Kurz of the Night Lords by the hands of an agent of the Officio Assassinorum. Long haunted by his impending death via his visions, apparently Conrad knew the assassin was coming and allowed her to deliver the blow and challenge. I think this is propaganda circulated by Night Lord fans and thus is absolute nonsense. It shouldn't be taken seriously. Obviously, Conrad died like a bitch, and once again, you should feel bad if you like him or his traitorous sons. Side note, the source of his demise comes from the same index that featured the Iron Cage, and thus is likely not canon anymore. Suck on that, Night Lord fans. You suck. Just kidding, I love you. Buy my merch when I get it.
Well,
I'm just playing with you.
That's the first shirt. Night Lords suck.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Yes. I'm just gonna get a big old picture of like a Night Lord just getting his ass spanked by like I don't know, like the Ultramarines, sure. Just like some random Night Lord just getting hamstrung by a blueberry, no less. That could be fun. And he's like, "Oh, I wasn't supposed to be in today." Night Lords suck. You should feel bad. Moving on. So we come, of course, to a pivotal moment in the Scouring in the form of the Battle of Thessaly, where Fulgrim and Rabute Gilliman and their legions fought a titanic battle that turns out was a ploy by Fulgrim to draw Rabute in for the kill. Our degenerate snake boy succeeded in slicing open Rabute's throat, but because Primarchs are ridiculously hard to kill, he survived by being placed in stasis by his sons, where he would stay until his revival in the 42nd millennium. So, like, we lost our beautiful baby Blueberry. And then he came back, and now he's the same thing he was during the Scouring. All right. So the last notable event from the Scouring I care to know is the presumed death of Rogel Dorn during a hit-and-run attack against a superior Chaos fleet. I say presume because there are conflicting sources as to whether his body was recovered and his skeleton was encased in amber, or that they only found his fist and it is now kept in stasis as the chapter's most holy relic. No one knows. By now, if it isn't already obvious, there isn't much consistency in the information involving the Scouring, and that is because it is a series that has yet to be largely covered by authors of modern 40K. I suspect in the next few years we will see more come out about this time in history, but for now we are left with conflicting reports and vague tidings from the warp. As a side note, editorially speaking, the picture that I sent you of those two arguing,
Yeah.
that's actually the cover art for the upcoming first novel in the Scouring series.
Mm.
So they are planning on actually doing a series. I came to find out during the
What
process
makes
of,
the series or the books canon?
well,
Just
because
because I feel like there's a writer for if there was like a writer for 40K, like
there are many, but they all fall under the publishing house of this thing called the Black Library, which is Games Workshop's publishing house.
oh, so
So
if they publish something that's from the Black Library, then it becomes canon, basically.
correct until they retcon it,
Gotcha.
which happens. I mean, you have, it's like what, 85, 84, maybe 86 that this all started. So it's been around a while. So yeah, they've retconned a lot of stuff over the years. Um, Mainly the whole Space Marines Space Marines used to be like cops, like really hard edged judges from Mega City 9 kind of levels
Okay.
of like grimdark, and then they went away from that and made them genetically modified super warriors that were enhanced for war only. Like there's
Well, it
a
sounds like there's constantly being changes. It's just like from more current things with
yeah,
Warhammer. I, from what I've like, because me looking into this stuff on my own, um, it definitely seems like there's when they make certain changes, like fans just have just a raging hate for certain changes. I'm like, why?
that's because chances are those fans were around in the 80s, 90s, or early 2000s, like myself. But I wouldn't say I'm one of them rage boner fans. Like I don't have a strong stance on the things that upset people. Like the latest one that really caught my attention, and it's old news by the time this cast comes out, but like they had like a huge rage boner. Some of the fans did over female custodies.
Which when I looked into the custodians myself, like there's nothing at all that says that a custodians can't be female.
True.
Like
However,
nothing at
there
all.
is a side passage that does imply an affirmative to male gender, unfortunately. I actually had to look this up and shout out to Arbiter Ian. He's got good stuff, guys. Go see, go watch. I have nothing but nice things to say about him. Frankly, he's more of an expert in this stuff than I am. But like there is a throwaway line from like a White Dwarf serial that does in fact mention that the custodian guard are all men. Now, because of the verbiage and because of how it was written at the time, it was a it was what's the word I want to look for? It leaves room for different interpretation. So, like in an example, that there are only men right now. Like there may have been women in the past.
Exactly.
Regardless, it doesn't matter. It does not matter.
Like, to
This
me,
is
like, it for any kind of franchise like this, lore is always going to change. Things
yeah,
are gonna become canon, things are not gonna become canon.
yeah,
If do you wanna add female to the Custodes? You know what? Why not? Fuck it. Like, lore changes.
yeah.
I don't know why you guys are so butthurt about some changes.
That's because
It just makes more of the story in depth and stuff like that. It's like, what, you don't want, like, a muscle momming legion? Why not?
right.
Like,
Hey, it sounds good on
something other than the Adeptus Astartes? Like, that sounds cool to me. Like, you can
I
only have the one female, like, legion that's out there. Like, it's just
fun fact about why that wouldn't work is because the whole process. I want to make this very clear. This is a lore that is about selling plastic toy miniatures.
true.
So the entire concept of getting butthurt about little toy soldiers being ladies is kind of dumb to me.
I
But
mean, it's dumb.
but to each their own. But let me be clear, it has already been discussed about like, the entire very thorough and efficient way that Astartes are made. And if a woman were to become Astartes, they wouldn't even look female. So it kind of doesn't matter. Like they're transhumans. They're not human anymore. They're genetically engineered, enhanced super warriors that have their brain chemistry reworked so their olfactory ability to prodigate and create copies of themselves is destroyed and replaced with a boner for war, like war. So, like, it doesn't make sense. But at the same time, they wouldn't even address each other like they had a gender anymore. You ever notice the Astartes, other than just saying, brother, I'm pinned down here? Like, that is more a moniker of brotherhood. Like, as in Knight Templars level of like Crusader levels of brotherhood, as opposed to like, actual gender identification. They keep their names, but I some chapters have their names changed once they're inducted and are they get their black carapace and become proper Marines.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's lore for selling plastic toys. Don't overthink it. But I will say this though, because I have this weakness with Star Wars. You can ask any of my friends in the group, whether it's Chamlin, Leonotis, or Chef here. I am very defensive of Star Wars. And the reason why is almost the exact same reason I'm willing to bet that a lot of these people online are upset. They were raised with it. They were young when they were introduced to it and they grew up with it and it brought them succor in times of great stress. And that's sad to say out loud, but that's what Star Wars is to me as an example. So, like, whenever I get defensive about, character misappropriation, like with Luke Skywalker and how none of that would have happened in the new trilogy. He wouldn't have behaved like that just because, like, that's still just, the 8-year-old kid in me getting upset over a fictional character and it means nothing, but it means everything as well. So, in short, my long view about all of this is to just whatever. Your headcanon's your headcanon, man. Like, yeah, I may be a lore master about 40K, but at the end of the day, as much as I shit on Night Lords and chaos factions in general, I'm not going to deprive you of your true feelings on them. And if that makes you happy,
Yeah, I don't
bless
wanna
it.
change my views on any of this. It's just that's my opinion, and
Yeah, no, it's just like I don't want the viewership to get the wrong message here. Because, like, at the end of the day, while we do think it is a fallacy, it is an acceptable one because people are allowed to have opinions for now. Huh. So, let's crack on, eh? Yeah, okay. By the year 021 M31, the Civil War was done And after much deliberation from the High Lords of Terra, it was decided that the Codex Astartes would go into effect. This forced every legion to split into 1,000 manned chapters, adhering to strict rules of structure to prevent something like the Horus Heresy from ever happening again. I think I have a picture of like a structure for you, or it should be in there. He's looking at the show notes so we can have something visual to look at as we're going along. So, like, you see it?
This is a
It's
crusade?
no,
Mhm.
it's like a gray background with like stenciled letters, and it looks like it's a structure chart.
Oh,
Okay, so that's what a codex compliant chapter looks like on paper and through like a graph. Um, and they did this so the Horus Heresy would never happen again. Again, the premise of the Codex compliance for the Codex Astartes was that so someone like Horus would never come around and have in the Imperial army and tens of hundreds of thousands of legionnaires at his disposal. They did not want another heresy. They couldn't afford another heresy. Rabute knew this, and he's like, in that rare moment of being a dictator, but also actually being what a dictator is supposed to signify in old Latin, which, by the way, if any of you don't know, a dictator in Roman times was a military leader that was given absolute power for a brief period of time where he would be in 100% control of the entire republic of Rome. And when that time frame was done or the crisis was done, he was supposed to effective immediately relinquish all power and go back to like farming. Like Cincinnatus. You ever heard the story of Cincinnatus? Okay, so if you didn't know, Cincinnati, Ohio was named after Cincinnatus. Cincinnatus was a famous plutarch of the Roman Republic back in like, its early day. There was like a crisis. Um, Rome was about to fall from outside forces. They called in Cincinnatus, made him a dictator, and within like less than a year, not even that, he solved the problem, relinquished his title of dictator, and went back to farming and never held political power ever again. That is the ideal representation of the word dictator. Unfortunately, as you and I both know, that word is no longer synonymous to how it's
That's
perceived
so
today. Yeah. So like I tell you that because that's essentially what Rabute Gilliman did. He saw that the High Lords were struggling, had absolute power, and then enforced Codex compliance. Because he was basically the Lord Commander of the military forces. They wanted to call him War Master, and he's like, that's a taboo title now. We're never going to use that again. So let's just go with Lord Commander of Imperial Forces, and I'll fix the problem. And they're like, sure. Also, they couldn't say no to him because he had the biggest numbers. So do know only one legion flat out refused to agree to Codex compliance, and this was the Space Wolves under Lehman Russ. Such as Defiance was, they only had around 12 companies left following the end of the war and really couldn't be a real threat to compromise the stability of the Codex compliance. So they kind of were allowed to keep this structure and went on their merry way of being pain in the asses on the whole of the Imperium up to the current date. Respect. So yeah, they're actually the only legion that is not Codex compliant. They're not. They are simply not. And even when they were,
they're still loyalists, right?
yes,
Yeah.
the Space Wolves are loyalist. There's a lot of similar names, like you got the Luna Wolves, the
Yeah,
Space
there's a lot of
Wolves.
Spencer similar names. Space Wolves. Mhm.
Space Wolves good, Luna Wolves bad.
Gotcha.
Uh, what will later become known as the Second Founding happened, which saw the legions breaking into several notable chapters as many times as was needed to adhere to Codex compliance. So again, chapters are 1,000 legionnaires. No more, no less. They were then given overall command to hand selected veteran Space Marines, who then took on the title of Chapter Master, removing the threat of the Astartes ever unifying as one terrible force ever again. Now, we have been focusing on the Imperium for quite some time. Allow a switching of gears as we focus on a little guy, just a little guy, by the name of Abaddon the Despoiler.
Oh, he's just a little guy.
He's just a little guy. Sorry, that belongs to somebody else. We can't do that very often. Uh, Following the Scouring, old Abby fled into the Eye of Terror with what remained of the Sons of Horus. For the next several centuries, he began consolidating his power and making numerous blood pacts with the dark gods to gain an upper hand against many others of the feuding warlords of his legion. As Abadan, as old Danny Boy began to assume overall command of all traitor forces, whether by killing his competition or co-opting them into his leadership, he enforced an interesting tactic of taking all Astartes from the other legions that sought some form of structure into his warband. It's like, Emperor's children, you don't like what's going on? Come join me. Like, he just did that for everybody. Renegade from Loyalist forces, son of Ultramar, come join me. He didn't care. He took anybody that was willing to serve him.
Hmm.
And it's worked. He actually developed a bit of a cult following, if you will. Hardy har 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 har. So, in time, he renamed the Sons of Horus the Black Legion, painting their armor black to signify unity under chaos undivided. Once it became clear he was the top dog, in 781 M31, Abaddon launched the first of his Black Crusades. Now, this Black Crusade served as the first attempt to launch a new offensive against the Imperium following the Horus Heresy. This attack was focused on the first sector in his path, Cadia. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
You should, because the planet broke before the guard did. That's such a tagline, by the way. That's so Spartan. It's like, I guess then we'll fight in the shade. So, 1,000 arrows I'll pour down upon you and your kinsmen. And then I guess we'll fight in the shade. It's like, Timmy, did you really just say that? God, that was so hard.
So metal.
And you know, the fun fact about that, that's a real thing that was said and recorded at the Battle of Thermopylae. Because you got to remember, it wasn't just 300 Spartans there. There was Athenians, Tadarians, Trigians. Okay, I'm getting a little rusty here. I'm going to have to read a book after this podcast. But like, there was more than just them there. And like, the Athenians left. And they actually mingled with the Spartans during that battle and that chokehold. And that's how they know that there was a recording where somebody actually said those words from that highly inaccurate and over-the-top movie.
It's so good, though.
It's so good, though. It's so good. So, hey, in the centuries following the Scouring, so now, yeah, we're fast forward past the Scouring at this point, the world of Cadia and the surrounding system it resides in had been fortified to resist any strikes coming from the Eye of Terror. Yeah, which is that, like, I'd have to show you an old map. I don't got one right now, but like, because the map is that current 42nd millennia is not the map of like that time period. But there's basically a Terror in reality where the forces of chaos come out of. So that's called the Eye of Terror. Whew. So Cadia itself became a fortress world of great renown and serves as a bastion against the coming storm of chaos for millennium to come until a particular time period that we will cover in a couple episodes. Now, the incursion was relatively successful across the whole of the Segmentum Obscurus, so the ruinous powers granted Abaddon, old Donny Boy, knowledge of a labyrinth on the world of Eurolon where a great power was said to be located.
The Minotaur. No,
You're not far off. It basically is a haunted labyrinth. I shit you not. He got it, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. After a grueling journey into the inner chamber, all his closest allies died. Like, they were either snatched by evil haunted spirits or were killed in battle. It didn't matter. Like, he was the only one left. But he did at last acquire the thing that he was sent to find, which is this demon sword called Drachnian. Now, Drachnian is, it is said in the lore, possibly the oldest demon in the warp. He is an eater of worlds. Like, his favorite pastime was nom-nomming on planets. Such was his power.
And he got turned into a sword.
And he got turned into the sword by one of the dark gods, or all the dark gods of chaos. I'm not sure. I think, like, the going story is like he was about to become the fifth dark god of chaos, and they're like, no, we like the even numbers. You're out.
Numbers, no, go away.
And yeah, they turned him into a sword, and he is now Abaddon's favorite weapon. It clown shoes levels of hilarious, I'm telling you. And try saying Drachnian 6 times in a row without messing it up. I dare you. A double dog dare you, in fact. Ladies and gentlemen, I've laid down the double dog dare.
Drachnian.
That is correct.
Drachnian, 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 Drachnian.
You suck. Was that 7 times? I'll get a recording and edit it and say if it was or not. This horrific weapon held, I think it was, the horrific weapon held the warp entity of the same name inside it, as we've discussed, granting its wielder the power to rend reality apart wherever it strikes. I know, right? And it's not that great on tabletop. As of now. It may have changed. I don't know. It's been a minute. With weapon in hand, Abaddon's power swelled to inhuman proportions. And at the end of the crusade, he was at long last proclaimed the successor to Horus Lupercal. He was now the War Master. Chicka chicka. Wait, can't do that. That's copyrighted. Now, along the way to the 32nd millennium, we lose 2 more Primarchs to the forces of destiny. Those being Leman Russ and Corvus Corax. Leman Russ was last seen journeying into the Eye of Terror with his personal retinue, but before he did, he announced at a feast to his sons his coming back during the dreaded wolf time. Which, as you'll note, in previous episodes, specifically of Book Club, we covered The Wolf Time by Gav Thorpe, and it was terrible. Moving on. Nah, it's all right. Shout out to Gav Thorpe. It was actually like the first part of it was really good, but then it started to lose a little bit of focus. Personally, not my cup of tea, but he didn't come back. It was false advertisement. Listen to Chamlin. He had like a whole diatribe about it. Please buy my merch. So yeah, it's believed by many within the Space Wolves that Russ was after the fabled Tree of Life to heal his father, the Emperor, Aru. So that was like my way of saying adieu. Just so you know, that was the joke there. I'm not that funny, I know.
So that's he was traveling in the.
He went into the Eye of Terror to try and find a miracle tree to bring his father back to cognitive function, I guess. Maybe that's a harsh critique. More like he subconsciously helps, but he's basically a vegetable on a chair. He's there in spirit, literally. Now, this one you're going to love, because if anybody's an edgelord, it's either Conrad Kurz or Corvus Corax. Now, he told me in confidence that next to the Salamanders, the Raven Guard was probably his favorite legion. We're not going
I
to...
like the Salamanders and the Raven Guard.
And you should feel great shame for both. I'm just kidding. I like the Raven Guard, but I do not care for the Salamanders.
I think third would probably be the White Scars.
I respect that more than the first 2 you named. The White Scars are a bitch in chapter. They get shit done. They take names. Like, they laugh while fighting. They like to go fast. What's not to love about that? Jagadai Khan, his flagship, he had the Mechanicum actually alter it to go faster. I'm not even making this shit. This is in a novel. It's in the one where he gets betrayed, actually.
Okay.
He's like, it was just some sort of an aside. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So Corax would also head into the Eye of Terror, citing, and I shit you not, the last words that were uttered from his mouth that were recorded by those closest to him were nevermore. It is presumed he is terrorizing Lorgar forevermore in the warp.
Those two are just going at it.
Nah, there's a reason for it because the drop site massacre was the brainchild of Lorgar and Horus, and Lorgar was his warriors were the ones that cut down the Raven Guard during the drop site massacre. So like Corvus has beef
He definitely has beef.
because they did not recover from the heresy. Like Vulcan and the Salamanders also had a hard time, as did the Iron Hands, but we'll talk about the Black Shield later. That shit was cool. We'll talk about it later. Uh, Now, sources are unclear, though there have been numerous reports of a bird-like demon stalking Lorgar wherever he goes, forcing the impotent traitor Primarch into hiding for thousands of years. There is a little short story where a big black bird demon tries and almost succeeds in killing Lorgar. I 100% believe this is Corvus Corax.
He's turned into a giant bird.
Well, the thing about Corvus that not everybody knows is that he was probably the closest to the Emperor in terms of confidence. Because I believe he's the only one the Emperor actually told the true nature of chaos to, was Corvus. So with that knowledge in mind, I think he conceivably figured out that he was a warp entity trapped in human flesh, like all the Primarchs probably are.
Mhm. He learned how to basically
And
transform.
exactly, and learned how to go to his original form, which was a scary goth bird.
Caw.
Caw, indeed. Caw.
Caw.
Caw. I'm flipping my non-existent hair while he is flipping his existent beautiful fucking bean. I hate you so much for that. I would be Horace Looper Call. I already know. Why are you so mad at Dad for no reason? Not fair. Everybody else has a mane of hair. Even Lorgar can grow hair, but he chooses to shave his head. What the hell is that about? Yeah, that's right. Horace turned to chaos because of bald envy. Moving on.
Male pattern baldness started all of this.
Yes, it did. And being a man with male pattern baldness, I see it. I see it. I really do. I really do. All right, so we're about ready to talk about the rest of this. This is we're gonna now talk about the War of the Beast. I'm going to be honest with you, Chef. This whole moment in 40K lore is dumb as shit.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you the light notes, and then we will move on away from this concerted dumpster fire that brings to the table great shame. In 542, M32, so we're now in the 32nd or 33rd millennium. That is weird. Anyway, a massive war boss by the name of the Beast arises and manages to unify all the disparate orcs of the galaxy under his banner. Now, if you'll recall, during the Battle of Olenor, the last great orcish empire was obliterated, essentially, and all orcs scattered to the four winds of the galaxy. So the Beast brought them all back under one banner. Okay, so far so good, right?
Okay, that's not too bad so far.
Okay. He then attacks the Imperium at large and even manages to attack Terra itself. Yeah, so far so good, right? Okay. The resulting carnage includes the near destruction of the Imperial Fists, so much so they had to pull from second founding chapters to remake the chapter. Attack moons coming from nowhere and attacking planets, articulate orc diplomats demanding surrender with posh wittiness, and the eventual resurfacing of Vulcan to aid in the final battle, only to lose him
I'm
again
trying to imagine a posh orc.
with a top hat and a monocle. There you go. Yeah. Like he comes to the planet Terra and he's like, you guys should surrender. Speaking perfect low Gothic. And then he speaks high Gothic. Like pseudo Latin high speech that only royalty and nobility speak. and priests. So yeah, and of course the last bit, I want you to pay attention to this because I just want to make sure I rehash it again. Vulcan came back to aid in the final battle, only to be lost again to the weird orc doomsday device. I can't even begin to describe to you. I just
An
don't.
orc doomsday device.
It obliterated him. Vulcan is dead, supposedly. The major takeaway from the War of the Beast is the last Primarch that's currently in the setting, Vulcan, leaving the Imperium behind, and the formation of this organization called the Death Watch. Now, a little bit about the Death Watch. Because this Xenos threat was so dangerous to the Imperium, and they were almost crushed under the boot heels of orc oppression, they were like, man, we gotta create a special organization that fights these Xenos in all forms, knows everything, fights them, goes out of their way to eradicate them, and thus the Death Watch are born. So get this. There's like a small tithe that every chapter across the Imperium gives their sons, their brothers, to the Death Watch. And they serve for a number of years. Usually, I think it's like 3 decades. I may have to fact check that later. Um, and then they come back to their chapters having learned other chapters' fighting tactics and also are like expert Xenos hunters, aliens. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Death Watch also is the iron fist of the Ordo Xenos. So like when if an Inquisitor of the Ordo Xenos needs to smash a Xenos, he calls the Death Watch. That's kind of their function. They're the Ordo Militant of the Ordo Xenos in its technicality. Oh, man. Okay, so the last thing we will cover today is an event in 546 M32 called the Beheading. This event was kicked off when Draken Vengerich, and no, I will not say his name again, Grand Master of the Officio Assassinorum, initiated the deaths of the High Lords of Terra, and in return was slain by the single survivor of a retribution force drawn from the Halo Brethren, the Imperial Fist, and Sable Sword chapters. In the aftermath, the Imperium descended into anarchy. The reason for this mass assassination of the High Lords was in large part due to gross ineptitude during the War of the Beasts only 2 years prior. To this day, it is widely contended that Draken was one of the driving forces in the Imperium's victory, but realized that while victorious, the Imperium could ill afford another clusterfuck orchestrated by the hands of the High Lords. Spring cleaning was needed, as it were. Whether this was true or not is up to debate. But the consequences of this action would lead to our next episode, where we will cover the Forging, the Nova Terra Interregnum, and the Age of Apostasy, and all the Black Crusades in between. So, Chef, what are your thoughts so far? And if you have any questions, what are they?
Oh, let's see.
A word vomited on you, I know.
So as of like currently, Vulcan is still like missing after the weird
Yes.
doomsday device.
Yes. It is left up to the reader to determine whether he's written out in such a way that he might not actually be dead. But if he is, he's chock full of weird boy energy, orcish warp energy. I think he's dead. I can be wrong
Vulcan
though.
lives, and he lives.
I mean, if I'm being honest with you, I think the only reason why he may be alive is because he lifts. But he's no longer in the stories from this point on. He was the last Primarch to go.
Mm.
So now we have an Imperium with no Primarchs to lead them, and High Lords of Terra have been
Well, there's
all.
two. I thought Gilman was back.
Okay, we're talking about the 30. Let's see. Let me double
Oh,
check.
currently in this timeline, there's
Yes.
no Primarchs.
So we're in the M32 right now, halfway through M32, and he's gone.
So with M32, there's like no Primarchs left.
It was by okay, so yeah, by 544 M32 is when Vulcan disappeared. and there hasn't been a Primarch since until the 42nd millennium. So it's going to be 10,000 years before another Primarch comes back. So everything else is downhill from here, brother. Because Vulcan was the last voice. But, it should be noted, he did not politic like Rabute did. Vulcan didn't give a shit about that. He gave a shit about his father's empire and its people, to the point, more so the people.
Yeah.
He, unfortunately, is not there to protect them anymore. Okay. Thoughts, comments, questions?
Yeah. Well,
All right. So that's going to be all for us today. Once again, if you like what we do, consider supporting us. Thanks for staying with us until the end, and come join us next time when we will be discussing everything up to the end of the Age of Apostasy. This one's a doozy, guys. This next one. See you next time. Bye.